Unerwartet singt eine schöne Frauenstimme.
Young and lovely. Yeah, and a girl from and when she was 11, they all sang.
Good evening, folks. You're listening to Fold by Fold, the podcast on experimental music, new music, improvisation, all that jazz. And today I'm talking to Gianluca Castelli, who's a Italian-born, Germany-based composer of new music, primarily chamber music. Also just happens to be my teacher, my composition teacher. Good evening, Gianluca. How are you doing?
Good evening. Hi, everybody. Hello, Paul. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure.
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty okay. Just opened this wonderful succulent beer. And I'm ready to discuss a little bit your creative output of the last few years. I'm gonna link to everything in the description, of course, as usual. Sadly, not all of Gianluca's pieces are available for listening online, but yeah, there are a few out there, and we're gonna focus on those in this interview. So, Gianluca, you were born in '85. How did you get into music? Like, what was your first musical contact like?
So I started playing piano when I was 6, so a child. My parents are not musicians, but they love music. They love to listen to music, and so I grew up surrounded by music, especially hard rock, progressive rock from the 70s. So as a teenager, I had a couple of bands. I played like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and so on. And then when I was 20 years old, I discovered that it was possible to study composition at a conservatory. I didn't know that because nobody told me. I grew up in a town close to Torino. It was not such an international place, I'd say. So yeah, it was really a discovery for me. So I started studying like classical composition, so counterpoint, harmony, and so on.
Yeah.
But the real revolution was to start studying with a professor. His name is Alberto Colla, Italian composer, and also meeting my wife. She's also a composer, and this professor Colla and my wife together, they really changed my way to approach composition and music. So I would say that it happened in 2010, so like 12 years ago.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And
by 2012 you were already writing like really modern stuff.
Exactly. It was a great change in my style also. And the music you can find, it's about since 2013, 14, something like this, actually.
All right,
So,
jumping right in, I guess. 2014, you wrote Fantasia for chamber orchestra. Like I just listened to that right before the interview, and goddamn, it's really mind blowing. Honestly, can you tell us something about that? Like, what was the inspiration for that piece? What's like the associations that come to mind for you?
This is one of the first pieces I still recognize as good pieces. I wrote so many pieces that grew old too fast, but I'm quite happy about with this piece. I had the occasion to write for orchestra for a masterclass in Italy. There was the opportunity to work with an orchestra in Florence in 2013, and for this occasion I composed this piece. It has to be like 5 minutes long, so not so long.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Fantasia, it's quite a neutral title because it was, yeah, my first experience with orchestra. I just wanted to try stuff, and
Yeah.
I was working with my professor on some harmonical theories and techniques. So I tried to I tried something. This piece is based on a particular set of six tunes.
Yeah.
It's like the six tunes there are in the overtone series, but they are also tempered tunes. It means you can play them with the piano, even though they are natural tunes. So,
Okay.
and this is the kind of the first accord of the piece is this set of six tunes, and then yeah, I like to write in kind of a rhapsodical way. Speech is divided in some panels, very different one another,
Yeah.
and yeah, actually, I just wanted to write for an orchestra and to listen to it, and yeah, I had the opportunity to I sent it to uh, um, sorry, a contest, competition, so a competition in Weimar,
Yeah.
and I was selected among the finalists. So I really had the opportunity to hear it, and the record you heard on the internet is this performance in Weimar 2014. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, as I said, this is like great entry points for the people at home, checking out the links in the description. This should be one of the pieces. Maybe you start with. I believe this is the first piece by you that I've heard. This is actually before you started teaching me. I just came across your stuff on YouTube because I, went down the new music contemporary rabbit hole, and I just came across it. I think it was either this piece or Traumkreis. But yeah, this is actually like you've already mentioned it. This is, I think, the first time the people in the internet can hear one of your central techniques, which is this work with limited pitch sets, right? Like tone sets.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you've done this in pretty much every piece since.
Yeah, that's right. As my professor Alberto Colla did a huge work on harmony. He studied deeply all the harmonical techniques in the 20th century, and he came up with a kind of E-zone technique called concinitas. It's a huge harmonical system based on the meeting between symmetries and harmonical sounds. And yeah, it's very interesting because this theory is huge, but it's also you can take something and do your own kind of harmony, and it's really neutral as technique. It means it gives you inspiration, but it leaves you free to do what you really want. So I made my own way using this kind of, especially 5, 6, 7 pitches all together in a melodical and harmonical ways, and there are a lot of opportunities of combining sets and transpositions and so on. It's fascinating.
Absolutely, it truly is. Like, you've given me some PDFs, which are just the tip of the iceberg of this symmetrical theory. And yeah, I can't stop talking to other musicians about it because I find it very, very fascinating. Yeah, it's some damn good theory. And as you said, it's not really dictating any kind of sound. Like, you can go in various sonic directions with it. It's just I I guess, an analytical framework most of all, which is also, somewhat a
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah, yes, it is, and it is fascinating. My professor spent his whole life on it, and unfortunately, it's not so known. He wrote two books in Italian. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I hope I will be able to translate them in English or German
Oh, I
because
really
they,
hope so. I gotta read that shit.
yeah, yeah. And there is a video series on YouTube about Concinitas, but it's in Italian, unfortunately, because it's a group of students of him that decided to do this kind of explanation. It's like a series of 8, 10 videos because it's it's a huge theory, as I told you, and I hope it will be known because it's very, very interesting stuff, fascinating.
Should just be, yeah, it really should. I hope it will someday be available in various languages, because what it is, it's just another method of tonal organization, I guess. And like we love that stuff, George Russell and the Lydian chromatic concept and shit like that. People eat that up, they love that. So yeah, I really hope we can find some way to translate that stuff at some point. All right,
I'm
but
working on
anyway,
it.
yeah, your stuff. Actually, a smooth transition, because this piece that we're going to talk about now makes very explicit use of this theory. It's Mythoi for string quartet, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that becomes really apparent. Like, there are strict note sets, and right? Tell us something about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote this piece for a competition in Canada, in Montreal. And yeah, it's quite a long piece, 20 minutes. It's in 5 movements. And yeah, for this piece, I used just one set of 6 pitches. In particular, this hexachord will be the number 76 in the classification of
Nice.
Alan Forte. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fascinating set because it's made of a series of semitone, minor third, semitone, minor third. So it kind of sounds like this modi of Messiaen, something like this, and it's full of harmonical and melodical opportunities and ideas, because you can use accords, you can use the intervals like major third, minor third, and all this, the seventh, all possibilities. So I try to explore all the possibilities of these 6 pitches in this quartet. And I'm really proud of it, and yeah, that's it.
This is another piece for the listeners at home that I would highly recommend. It's honestly, it's a bit of a difficult listening for the first time. Like, the first time that I've heard it, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I really didn't understand it. But shortly afterwards, and independently of it, you brought up this tonal organization concept in composition class, and then I went back and listened to it again, and then I could, kind of get it. Then I could see the framework, and it's really expressive stuff. Like, here's some really cool spectral techniques for string quartet and stuff in there, right? Or like, I'm always hesitant to call your music spectral. But there is some influence, right?
Yeah, there is. But as I told you, this technique, Concinitas, tends to connect the spectral world and the symmetrical world. In a way, the spectral world is a symmetrical world.
Yeah.
But the idea will be to join these 2 aspects of harmony and use both of them. So freely. So I tend to use a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it works very well because it's a kind of harmony. I find it very communicative in a way that there is a kind of gravitational center, which is not the gravitational center of the tonal music, of the classical music, and it's not a dominante tonica, this kind of stuff. But there is a gravitational center, so it really helps kind of the communication, and it kind of sounds really natural also. So that's what I try to do. I mean,
it really does sound. It sounds very self-contained, right? Like even though there is no functional harmony or anything, it's just it has a kind of sound to it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very peculiar. I think lots of people would get a kick out of this. But yeah, that's just the problem with new music in general, right? Like I think lots of people would enjoy it if they got a chance to hear it. But yeah, sadly, it's very niche.
Yeah,
my God.
That's why I think communication is a really important aspect of the new music, and composers should take this in consideration. And harmony, it's a very nice way to try to communicate, because it's deeply inside our ear, and it's strongly connected with emotions and biology.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we are conditioned to experience harmony in a certain way, and then with the overtone role, we can even offer an even wider field, because like that's just burnt into like sound itself. There's no way a person doesn't have that kind of experience. Even like with harmony, I'm afraid, like with younger people, that they are not that responsive to harmony, because we've been raised on music that is, modal at best.
Yeah, I know. Harmony is completely underestimated, and it's quite irrelevant, I would say, in mostly a lot of music that we hear. And yeah, that's sad. And I don't know.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but we have to. I guess we have to adapt as composers a little bit to what the listener would recognize, and like people don't really hear functional harmony the same way that like our parents' generation did, where functional harmony was absolutely inside their brains.
Of course, but not because of the function, but because of the kind of pitches that were involved. I mean, there's some kind of intervals that are biological. They are biological. They are there's a really chemical reaction in our brain, because when we hear like a fifth, a third, and we must consider that. We must take this in consideration. So there's a difference between the connection between chords like C major, G major, because it's the connection between them, and C major itself, because in C major there are a lot of other possibilities. So if you use a kind of diatonical or consonant harmony, it doesn't mean that you are writing tonal music, because tonal music is about the connection between chords.
Right. Yeah.
So what I try to do is use these ingredients like consonant intervals and so on in my way. It's kind of original way. I try. I do my best. It means it could help to communicate with the audience, but at the same time I build my own connection and my own process, harmonical process. That's what I try to do. That's what my professor taught me, and that's what I hear around me. I hear a lot of music of my colleagues that are trying to do the same, and I'm happy about that.
That's goddamn. That's a mission statement. right there. Very, very
Yeah,
nice.
may I say that's what I heard in one of your pieces that you showed me like a month ago.
Okay.
This piece for big ensemble.
Yeah.
I loved the use of harmony that you did to characterize the different section of the piece, and it was great. I mean, I think this could be a very communicative uh, piece through the harmony.
Oh,
Not only, but
I really hope we
through
can
the,
get it performed someday.
yeah, it
Would
would
be
be great.
very cool to hear that. Thank you very much. Like this is wow. I feel honored. And,
You
like my
deserve it.
process with harmony is just because I don't know shit. Quite frankly, it's very intuitive, and kind of comes from like just stuff I hear in jazz and stuff I hear in folk music, and trying to translate some of that a little bit. But yeah, anyways, I'm interviewing you, not the other way around.
Sorry.
Let's get going about Drei Gedichte from
Oh yeah.
2016, because that's like what I would call a certified banger. That's one of my favorites of yours. Tell us a little bit about that. 3 very different little pieces there.
Yeah, that was a commission of the accordionist Margherita Berlanda, which I had the opportunity to collaborate several times. And yeah, the commission was to compose on 3 poems of Heinrich Heine.
Ah, nice.
So yeah, every piece is connected to a poem. It was a project connected with the school, so it was to Margherita made a meeting with in the school, and she made a job with the poem and the music together. So they really made music with the children together, explaining what they were doing, why they were doing, what was the connection between music and text, and so on. It was a great
Wow.
it took place in Trossingen, in the south of Germany.
So these are children on the recording that I hear playing this music.
No, in the audience. There were
Okay.
children, and the performer are a quintet, like accordion, cello, trumpet, saxophone, and percussion, maybe. Yeah, percussion.
Yeah, damn. Yeah,
Yeah.
what are like let's say we are the children, the audience here, the listeners. Tell us about the connection of the music to the Heine poems. I mean, yeah, this has been a long while ago, so you don't have to
Yeah.
get too much in detail. But yeah, tell us what you can about like the musical
I'm
connections.
searching on my computer the PDF and stuff. I received the 3 poems, so I couldn't decide which poems. Just a sec. So with 2 of them was quite easy. The first one where der Schmetterling ist in die Rose verliebt. The butterfly is in love with the
rose.
with the rose. And the second was die Rose, die Lilie, die Traube, die Sonne. The rose, the sun, and maybe you can translate.
What's the title again?
Die Rose, die Lilie, die Traube, die Sonne.
The rose, the lily, the grape, and the sun.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and
So
that kind of sounds like a title of like a Alban Berg piece, like Der Wein, die Rose, that kind of stuff.
yeah, exactly. So with these 2 poems, what was quite easy to find a connection. They are very inspiring texts, and with a lot of natural elements and stuff. So it was quite spontaneous, I would say, to write music about them. With the 3rd poem, I had some problem. Die Rose duftet, the rose smells. This text is a little bit more abstract and a little dark also. So the third piece was maybe the hardest one to find a way to transform it into music. But yeah, I loved these poems. It was about, as I told you, a lot of natural elements and light and colors and smells and so on. So it matched perfectly with this kind of harmonical technique that I use. So and also the instrumentation was spectacular. The opportunity of the accordion together with percussions and saxophone are
Yeah, the alto sax is
incredible
just
instruments, and of course cello. It's kind of with cello you are always sure it will it will do. So it was a really inspiring instrumentation also. Yeah, and I had I also conducted the pieces. Was one of the maybe
nice.
the only time I could conduct a piece of mine. So it was really a great experience.
Yeah, fantastic piece. Everybody should check it out. It's all in the description below. Yeah, you've mentioned the cello. You've written a lot for cello. I could have technically listened to it, but for some reason I didn't. So the cello pieces I sadly can't ask you anything about. But actually, when using your harmonic technique, what is the composition process like? For example, with Drei Gedichte, like, is there some sort of motivic serialization that comes from the texts, or do you sit down and like write impressionistically on the texts, or like how do you develop music from text?
In this occasion, I would say I wrote more impressionistically. As you said, I mean the texts are very inspiring, so it was quite easy to hear the sound of the text, and then I choose the harmonical set, which probably would the better harmonical set. I can't remember which one I used for this. Maybe it was 3 different pitches for every piece. I don't know, but this way, I would say I didn't start with the harmony. It could happen, but not this way. I wrote a couple of pieces. Unfortunately, they are yet to be performed, in which I really kind of worked on a spectral harmony and so on. I wrote an etude for cello. I'm working with an Italian cellist at the moment, so I hope it will be performed soon. This piece is strictly about spectral harmony.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was studying the music of James Tenney, Canadian composer, crazy Canadian composer, totally minimalistic and spectralistic composer.
Like so minimalist it hurts sometimes.
yeah, mystic, I would say. Yeah,
Totally,
I would say listen to his music is a mystic experience. A little bit too much for me. I mean, I love his music, but I wouldn't write so tough, so much. But I wanted to find my way of take some kind of inspiration, and in this case I work really with natural intonation up to the I don't know 128th harmonic or something like this. So really.
Oh yeah. The crunchy part of the harmonic series.
yeah. But Tenney wrote on the scores up to the cent. It means cent of symptoms. I mean, for the performer, it seems impossible to do it. Actually, it's a kind of I don't know how to describe it, but it's a kind of mystical experience for the performer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see that.
Um,
Yeah, getting into that
yeah,
kind of zone and rehearsing, like like doing the ear training to
yeah,
discern
that,
like the smallest microtonal intervals. Actually, it's funny.
yeah,
Like I remember you told me about Tenny in the composition lessons, and then
yeah.
shortly later I interviewed for this podcast Concetta Abate
Hmm.
from New York, and we were discussing different ways to write microtones, and she
Hmm.
actually said that she knows a lot of performers who prefer the scent method over the split kind of ratio. Like
Hmm.
they don't like reading eighth tones, but you can tell them to like detune by 15 cent, and they will be able to do it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is magic. I don't understand how this works. These people are witches.
Yeah, you are right. That's magic, but that's why it's so beautiful. I think
Yeah.
this exploration between pitches. I find listen to the music of Tanya. It was in this kind of very long process between a semitone and the other. It was like
Oh
five
yeah.
minutes long, but when it comes, the I don't know the really half
Yeah.
tone, and you hear the intonation of this half tone is like, I don't know, Mahler symphony. I mean, it's
Right.
really an emotion.
It
It's an
sounds
emotion
like a
because
huge
you,
cadence all of
uh,
the sudden,
yeah,
like a different world almost. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
insane. For
You did
real.
all
Yeah.
this process, and finally you reach this this pure intonation of an interval, and it's like a relation. That's why I said mystical
Uh-huh.
experience. So I try to do my personal version of that in this etude for cello, um, and so I'm trying to do different stuff in the last pieces. Unfortunately, they all have to be performed yet,
Mhm.
but I'm trying new ways of using harmony in like pieces with four pitches and always the same four pitches and so on. It's fascinating. It's really uh, a cosmos, universe full of opportunities.
Wow. Like, yeah, seriously, everybody at home listening to this right now, go check out these pieces. It's like, uh, you haven't heard anything like this. Like, honestly, the most new music is very much concerned with the opposite of writing a four-pitch piece. you know, uh, this is very exciting. Check this stuff out. And now as we're already talking about pieces with voice, can I get a little bit of info from you about Ave Verum, your piece for soprano and organ?
Yeah, yeah. That was a commission from an Italian soprano, Ilaria Zuccaro. It was for a concert dedicated to Ave Verum. So on the program, it was like all the Ave Verums of the world, from choral music to duos, or so all the Ave Verums composed
Wow.
in history. Yeah, but it was kind of problematic because they were like Mozart
Mhm.
on it, and so you have to put yourself. Um, so you have to elaborate a text which was elaborated for Mozart, you know. So it was
Good.
kind of, oh man, what can I do?
Yeah.
uh, so I try to do my best to feel this text, which is so deep and so rich of history, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I studied deeply the score of Mozart to try to catch what he did and why he did. No, still the use of harmony. It's incredible how Mozart in 2 pages of music can
Uh-huh.
do such a miracle just with harmony in connection with the text. Um, and so I tried to do my best. It was 2015, so a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
long time ago. I was trying something new, but it didn't work so well. I mean, I'm very happy with this piece, but I didn't use this harmonical system anymore because it wasn't. I hoped it was better, but I try to work with spectral music and kind of unspectral music, in the way of the French spectralism, like already Grisset and Moraille did, like the use of the natural spectrum and kind of artificial modification of it
Oh yeah.
to create like this
Beatings and
something
inharmonics. Yeah.
contrast between harmonia. So I tried a kind of personal version of it. So
Just again, really great stuff. Kind of reminds me of Messiaen sometimes, which might just be because of the organ. But yeah, it's definitely like you can get that as a listener. You can understand the way that it kind of uses harmonics and inharmonics as contrasts going in and out of things, and there are these beautiful little runs that interact with the vocalist, which really kind of do remind me of like Messiaen and his bird quotes when he would quote birdsong in his music.
Yeah, it was kind of moving when the piece was performed. After the concert, my mother came and told me, I didn't know you were so spiritual. So it was kind of a great compliment for me, because it was kind of like my mother, she discovered a new piece of me, something she didn't know about me.
Wow.
It was really moving.
So you are kind of spiritual, right? Like I hesitated to even ask you because that's a very personal thing, but now you brought it up, so I feel like I can ask you.
Sorry. What was the question?
So you are kind of a spiritual composer, kind of a I don't want to say religious maybe, but spiritual definitely, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the church. I have to say, in this small town where I grew up, I grew up strictly connected with the church. All my friends, we were there. So I developed my own way of spirituality, I would say. So yeah, there is a connection with the Christianism world, I would say, but anyway, with the spiritual world, and it's important to me, so why not? It's kind of it's also a source of inspiration,
Totally,
so
it's so enriching. Yeah. Like
enriching.
It really is.
That's the word I wanted to say. Yeah. So it happens sometimes. I get commissioned with this kind of text or situation, and so why not? You can you can investigate the theme.
Okay, next piece. Another favorite of mine, Una storia, un racconto.
Oh yeah, that was also a commission from the accordionist Margherita Berlanda. It's actually a concert for accordion and 10 instruments. The piece is dedicated to my professor, Alberto Colla, because I just moved to Germany when I wrote this piece, so it was kind of a very important moment of my life. A positive, a very beautiful moment, scary, but beautiful.
The first time, the first person to have a good time in Germany, everybody. Mark his words.
No. So yeah, it was kind of, in this piece there was a lot of this month of trouble and happiness and hope for the future, but also troubles and difficulties and so on. It was a commission for Trotzingen, which is a very important place for accordion. So yeah, it's one of the first pieces when I realized, okay, maybe I can let it go. I mean, I studied, I did what I have to do, I tried all the systems or what I study and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I can start Let It Go. And this piece is divided in like 5 or 6 movements. I
Yeah.
don't remember. And like the third movement is like a song. The title of the
Totally. Yeah.
movement
Yeah.
is Lead. And I mean, I said, okay, now I really write like a song. So
Uh-huh.
easy, just a melody and just something easy and relaxed, like when I did when I was 10 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
I had no idea of harmonical system and stuff, so I said, okay, now I let it go, and then the fourth moment is again really complicated and so on. But it was the first time I realized, okay, now I'm allowed to let it go, to take it easy, uh, and it was beautiful. That's why I dedicated to my professor, because
Oh yeah.
after 7 years of work with him, I finally realized, okay, it worked, and I'm happy with what I learned, and now I can really be myself.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Damn.
that's a
Yeah.
very meaningful piece
It
for me.
it really does sound like positively sentimental, and it's a very moving piece. Like for real. Like only other pieces of your that are like that moving are like your choir works, the early works. This is obviously way less complicated stuff, but yeah, like this stuff is moving. Una Storia und Racconto. Yeah, it's real good stuff.
Thank
Like
you,
everybody, check it
thank you,
out. Fellas, check it
thank you.
out.
It was a concert, so it has to be a cadenza because it was
Mhm.
an exam for Margherita. So I had to write like a cadenza for solo accordion, and I say, man, I love heavy metal, so why don't put a little bit of heavy metal in my music?
Yeah.
And it was the first time I really like said, okay, then fortissimo, and, and let's go, and let's do it. Huh?
Yeah.
So.
Metal. Slayer. Yeah, okay. What else do we have here? We have Atemkristall. Ah, actually Traumkreis. Even before that. Traumkreis
Yeah.
is, yeah, I think that's probably the first piece of you I've heard. But yeah, fuck, that's like Traumkreis.
Yeah,
Explain that to us. I
and
mean, yeah, we understand the harmonic method, but yeah, what's that all about?
yeah, that was also moving when I met you the first time. You told me I already knew you, I knew your piece, and it was the first time I heard something like this. That my music was already there before me myself,
Oh
and it
damn.
was great. Yeah, it was very happy to hear it. It was a commission of Villanova Ensemble, an ensemble in Weimar. Quintet, a very inspiring instrumentation. Again, accordion,
Yeah,
cello, violin, clarinet, and flute.
exactly.
Yeah, and for this piece, I was inspired by an article I read about um, kind of a ritual that has made in the southeast of Asia. I think it
Uh-huh.
was a long time ago. A kind of ritual where all these people they sit in circle
Yeah.
every morning, and they tell each other what they dreamed.
Ah,
So the children are trained to learn to control the dream. And so if the dream become a nightmare,
hmm.
they are able to change it, so to control it and to transform
Ah,
what
yeah.
is scary in the dream in a beautiful way. So the dream becomes just a beautiful experience. No?
Uh-huh.
So I was fascinated by this kind of ritual.
I think
So
these
the
are
title,
the ancient people of Malaysia, by the way. I think this is
yeah,
like Malay dreamtelling.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So the title, Traumkreis, so like Circle of Dream. And then I also use this idea of the archetype of water in dreams. I mean the water that can take so many different forms
Yeah.
in dream.
Yeah.
and I took inspiration from that. So I kind of take 4 ideas. Of the first idea, like a river, a small river actually, with little waterfalls and so on. So very happy kind of water with full of colors and so on. And it will be the beginning of the piece. Then a kind of calm water, like of the sea, Mediterranean Sea, I would say, like on the beach on the evening. So very small waves and very peaceful way of water. That will be the second section of the piece. And then the water like rain, so a little drop, cold, I would say, so cold little drops of rain. And then the fourth idea, dark waters, so scary waters. It's like the section with the cello and the accordion, very deep, very deep. But as I told you, the child learned to transform what's scary in something funny. So this dark section suddenly became something so funny and light, I would say, to the end of the piece. So this was kind of the tale of a dream of water, I would say.
Oh, that's beautiful. Damn. I wish I had that explanation when I listened to it for the first time. Like this would have really enriched it. But damn, I gotta... right when we are finished with this interview, I'm gonna go back to that piece and listen to it again. Okay, little bit anachronistic jump, because I forgot to ask about that, but Much Madness. 4 Haunting Delusions for string orchestra. God damn, I love this piece.
Well, that was like 5 months after Una Storia, un Racconto, and all the happiness was gone. It was kind of the most difficult period of my life. I had like the crisis of the 30s. I don't know. It was a really difficult moment of my life, with my wife also, and we made a trip to New York, kind of super inspiring, but like wow, it's too much.
I fucking hate New York so much.
I love it. I love it and I hate it. It was like too many inputs all together. So I wrote this piece about madness. And I love string orchestra, as instrumentation is like full of energy and so on. So
honestly, most of the time I fucking hate string orchestra. I really don't like it usually, but this piece I really liked.
I'm happy to hear it. So here I took these 4 ways of craziness. I would say. I mean, there are so many different kinds of, but I choose the most inspiring one for me. So the first one is inspired to this phenomenon of tarantism. I don't know if you know about it. In the south of Italy, there is a very special kind of music called pizzica. It's a kind of tarantella.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Like honestly, like when I listened to it, I was like, this is like stereotypically Italian for some reason.
Yeah, but it's a very ancient ritual kind of music.
Wow.
Because the legend is like when a woman get how do you say in English, get from a spider, I don't know the verb, sorry. Bitten.
Okay, when they are bitten by a spider, when they get the spider bite. Where they start to dance uncontrollably, right? Where they,
I mean, the only way to get rid of the poison is to dance like crazy until the poison is finished, no? And it was kind of a ritual in the society because the women were very so they had to stay home to do home stuff and so on. So it was kind of the only opportunities they had to dance freely in open air. So it was a very important ritual for the society. And there was this little orchestra. They made tournée between the villages to play for these women. They had to dance the pizzica to get rid of the poison. So I like this kind of craziness. I mean, dance like a crazy until the energy until you
it's a medieval era rave.
Yeah. So I took this kind of rhythm of tarantella. I tried to write this kind of dance I have in mind. With there is a lot of noises and rumors of clapping hands and like people participating to the dance. And at the end of it, there is this stamp with the foot of the orchestra, like the spider is finally dead. So that was the first movement. The second is called scotoma, which is a kind of visual manifestation of I don't know. Scotoma is a phenomenon before migraine. It's
the migraine aura. Yeah.
That's it. It's a visual manifestation of
I get
aura.
those. Yeah.
I get those too. It's a kind of my all becomes white, and I can just say just in the middle of what I see, and it's all around is just white. Just kind of different when you faint, it all becomes black. So it's fascinating what the difference. So I try to kind of musicate this sensation of I cannot see. I see, but I cannot.
Scary
Your
shit.
eyes are open. Your eyes are open. You feel you can see, but you really can't. It's kind of disturbing. Really disturbing. Then the third piece, parasitism. It's an awful illness. It's a kind of illusion. You have the illusion you have insects on your skin.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a terrible sensation.
Fuck!
People get crazy because of that. You have the sensation you have little insects walking on you. It was very scary, and when people that hear this movement, they say, "Man, it is scary."
Like and that's like so fitting for string orchestra because that's like the spider sounds. Like string orchestra is for spider sounds.
I enjoyed all the timbrical possibilities of like pizzicato, different ways of pizzicato, and hitting the strings in different way to recreate this sensation of little animals moving and so on. And then the third movement is called voices, because it's the illusion of hearing voices, and I used the voices of the orchestra. So I asked the musician to use their voices. Of course I don't expect they to be singers, so I use the voices in a very easy way, like mumming and just singing easy tune pitches, the pitches they play, or freely improvising and so on. So it's a very beautiful effect because you hear these voices and you don't know where they come from because you see a string orchestra, but you hear voices, and of course the mix of the sound of the strings and the voices is marvelous. It's really
for real. Yeah, it's just so good. Everybody check it out. It's really one of my favorites. Once again, damn, I got a lot of favorites. But
of course, I'm not the first one to use the voice. I mean,
exactly. That's not new, but it's done very effectively, and it has a good reason for it to do it, right?
I did 2 master classes with Andrea Portera, an Italian composer, and once he told me, in front of you there is a performer, but also a person, and the person can do stuff like clapping hands, the voice. So don't forget, there are a lot of easy stuff that can be done, and they mix perfectly with the music, and it's great.
I went to one of those seminars by Winnie Wang at University Antwerp, and she was all about that post-instrumental music, where the performer
Yeah.
gets on stage and they play air guitar and you hear a guitar or something like that, and super interesting. Anyway, last piece I really want to talk about, and another piece where you've used the voices of the instrumentalists, is Casa Senza Uskita. Or Uskita, I don't know.
Uskita,
Pardon
yeah,
my
yeah.
pronunciation.
No problem.
Yeah, first thing
yeah,
I need to know is, like, what are those texts? Because I have a sneaking suspicion whose texts it are, but I don't know.
Yeah, also Casa Senza Uscita means houses without exit, so kind of
Oh yeah.
suffocating dark title, because it was a commission about human rights. So I had to write something about human rights, a very deep, important subject, and I chose 5 different violations of human rights. So it's a kind of music about the violations of these rights, and every section of the piece is inspired to an article of the Human Declaration of Human Rights. And the first section is without voices. It's about violence. So when the
it runs into a wall, right? That's the gesture. Like there's music, slam.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah, like a violent interruption of what you wanted to say, and it's a kind of a fight between the piano, which is the bad guy in this case, and the other instruments.
Just like in real life, the pianist is always definitely the bad guy.
Black and white guy. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Then the second session is the first one when you hear voices. It's about
nobody respects women like I do.
Yeah, that's about violence on women.
Yeah.
So the sentences you hear are quotes of Donald Trump.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I assumed.
Are sentences he actually said.
Yeah.
So I play with the contrast between the music, which is a very melodical, sad music, and these sentences. Quotes, real quotes. It really happened.
Yeah, for real. I didn't really know what the quotes were, but when I could make it out, nobody respects women like I do. Even though I didn't know the Trump quote, like there's only one person who would ever say something like that.
Yeah,
right? So that was fairly easy to guess. Yeah, okay, and then we continue on to different texts.
Yeah, the third movement would be on re-educational camps. So this idea of propaganda and repeating all this shit until they become a reality, and so there is a kind of ostinato, this rhythmical chromatism, always the same, repeating of obsessive. And there are instruments that try to escape this, but they get caught and throw in the river with all the other to repeat always the same. And then the fourth movement, it's about death. So when the violation of human rights get to death, so to the dead people because of violation of human rights. And the fifth one, it's about how to explain people who don't do anything when they hear about violation. So at first, all the instruments plays this kind of landscape of nothing. It's like a lot of noise,
very drony,
and repetitive without future. No? And the oboe try to sing a melody of his own, but there's no answer. Every time they shut up and they start again talking shit. So it's like this attempt to to do something, but you are surrounded by nothing. You can, and in the end, the performers start talking, and they just it's like breaking the news about. So they tell stories about violation of human rights. So I took news on websites, like what happened in the world for different kind of violence on every kind of situation. So it's just like news you can read about it on the internet, but they are so older. You hear this like a lot of inputs, and you have an idea of something terrible, but it's so confused. It's all together. Actually, I would like to change a little bit the end of it. I don't know. I'm not sure this is still the right end of the piece. But yeah, this the quotation of Donald Trump are fixed, but the last text are free to be changed. I mean, if the pieces will be performed in 10 years, you could take like actual news in 10 years. I mean, it's not important that you say exactly this, but the idea of hearing the news on television, and you hear this kind of terrible news.
That's just the part where it's the cacophonic voices, right? Like where they're all speaking arrhythmically unisono, right?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah.
Right? Ah, okay. Yeah, that would totally make sense to just switch it out. Or just even if you just pull a full boulez, and keep writing on this piece for the rest of your life and release it in like 10,000 different versions, that would still be dope as fuck.
Yeah.
So alright. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? Are there any current projects that you want to plug or anything?
I don't know. At the moment, I'm writing for 8 cellos, which I love cello.
Wow. Like Usportskaya. Like
it's a wonderful setup. I hope it will be performed in May, maybe here in Düsseldorf. I'm still not sure, but I hope, with Corona and so on, it's still hard to get a sure planning of concert and so on. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward for the next piece. Composing is like this. It's nice to look back and see what you've done, and but the best piece is the next one. So
I feel that. Yeah.
I feel it's like my life. So let's go on. Let's go on.
All right. Yeah, everybody, let's go on. Y'all at home, you go on to listening to Gianluca's music, please, because it's very good. And I go on to drink some more beer and read some Russian symbolism or something. This was Fold by Fold podcast. I've been talking to Gianluca Castelli tonight, who is a fantastic composer, and you should listen to all that shit. And I guess we're signing out. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Sure. Bye.